Hello, everyone. From time to time, we are being lucky to receive a female industry leader. Today, I have with me Miriam Kiwan, Vice President of Circle. Hello, Miriam. Great pleasure having you.
Same here. Hi, Waleed. It's a pleasure being with you today. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Circle in the MENA region, another important global player, has been attracted to the UAE. So this is why we're meeting to understand more and to shed the lights on Circle's plan for this region. First, can you share, Miriam, Circle's vision for expanding its presence in the MENA region?
Yes, of course. I mean, first of all, Circle's vision as a financial technology player is to increase global economic prosperity through the frictionless exchange of value. What I mean, that aligns very, very closely with our vision for this region, our commitment to the Middle East and Africa specifically, where we are looking to improve the adoption of USDC, which is a Circle's, regulated stablecoin across the region, and enable both individuals as well as businesses to participate in the digital economy. And at the same time, fostering financial inclusion. And at the heart of this vision is USDC. If I take the example of the UAE, where we are today, 89% of the residents of the UAE are expats, right? And in fact, the broader region is also home to the top 3 global remittances corridors, which is KSA. And these corridors alone serve a very important portion of the global market, receiving remittances, including the Philippines, including India, Egypt, in our region. And for us, that makes the region a very, very important part of what we're trying to achieve, and probably one of the most important markets globally for remittances. So we believe that USDC is very well positioned. I believe it's a perfect positioning for USDC to facilitate these cross-border business transactions as well as individual remittances that can leverage the power of the blockchain technology.
Amazing. I fully agree regarding this cross-border payment. So there's a lot we done on this level. So crypto adoption is growing here in the Middle East. Projects are mushrooming right, left, and center. A lot of exchanges are coming. So what steps is Circle taking to ensure that USDC remain compliant with the evolving regulation in this space?
Yes, of course. So the way we do this as a company is by engaging very, very closely with regulators across the globe, but also in this region, especially as the virtual asset space and specifically the stable coin frameworks are being considered and potentially developed in the future. This is a very important development for us, and we stay very close to those conversations. We also ensure that our users, while we make sure that we're compliant, we also ensure that our users still have access to USDC as well as our Web3 solutions through the partnerships that we have, right? So we make sure we have partnerships with financial institutions as well as regulated entities that can serve these users regionally. For us as a company, we look at the compliance side as a compliance first approach probably that we use. I would say is characterized into 3 key areas. The first one is having a robust compliance and transparent framework that uses obviously KYC, AML, so know your customer, and anti-money laundering procedures that help us verify the identity of our users, but also prevent any illicit activities on our platform. We also provide what we call third-party audited monthly reports that can confirm that the reserves back in USDC in circulation are accurate, as well as the accuracy of the number of USDCs in circulation in the market as well. The second factor I would say is that we are actively using collaborative partnerships with, again, financial institutions as well as other stakeholders to foster a dialogue and contribute to the development of the ecosystem overall, both locally in UAE as well as across the region, while we remain compliant, of course. And I would say the third and the last part of this is our focus on education. We are very much focused on educational initiatives that help raise awareness across the industry and among our users in the region. And this is really to make sure that we enable them to navigate the industry and the changes in a responsible manner. So for us, by taking, I would say, these steps, we aim to strike the balance that you mentioned between sort of really ensuring that our USDC and Web3 solutions are accessible to the users in the region, but while at the same time adhering to regulatory requirements.
So all about financial inclusion again. So that brings me to my next question. How does Circle see the intersection between financial inclusion and crypto adoption in the MENA region?
Interesting question, very interesting question. We are increasingly seeing what I would say, we're moving from what I would say speculation to utility in this region. That's one area that we're definitely noticing. I think what's important here is that when we consider probably the 1.7 billion people, right, in the world that are either underbanked or banked globally, and we consider the fact that the 2/3 of that segment of the population has smartphones, or they have access to smartphones. We see a regulated payment stablecoin like USDC as a very important tool and emerging as a tool basically for these citizens to really transfer value between each other at a greater speed, as well as at a lower cost, which is actually more important for that segment, right?
Absolutely.
So if you take, let's say, our region specifically, if we focus about the MENA region, which we are discussing today, I believe we have about almost 70%, I think it's around 67% of the adult population remains unbanked, right? And again, that's about, you're talking about almost 140
This is a big
people.
number. We're not talking here UAE, we're talking a wider geography.
Absolutely. So again, stablecoins like USDC in this case are providing really what we call a mobile first access to a very secure financial infrastructure that allows them to move money as well as store money. Right. This is where we start again tapping into that financial inclusion element and message that we highlight all the time. I would say another addition to this is that if you look at the recent chain analysis report, I don't think the report has come out yet fully, but some of the data that has been shared by data analysis specifically about the Middle East and Africa specifically shows that the region is the 6th largest crypto economy in the world, with almost $400 billion received in 1 year, right? When I look at that, why is that important? If you consider the list from the region, the list of countries from the region represented in that index, that highlights obviously the use cases that we're talking about today, which is, using stablecoins as a store of value, as well as sort of as a tool for remittances as well. And we're talking about countries like, Pakistan, Morocco, Egypt, all are highlighted, and of course Turkey, which is leading the region. So if I dive a little bit deeper into this, and I will use an example.
You didn't want to say that with their currency suffering to being undervalued, right? You should mention Lebanon as well, please.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love the fact that you raised, you highlighted Lebanon. So Lebanon
is the biggest use case nowadays. the biggest use case. And with the value of the local currency, with the access to banks, with the measures banks are taking just to limit the withdrawal, the international transmission or remittances. So Lebanon, as a small country where Lebanese are distributed all over the world. So this kind of transactions between Lebanese is suffering nowadays. And somehow, yes, we did a report on Unlock. It didn't go out in the English edition. It went out in Arabic. I might share it with you, but the idea is somehow a generation of almost 15-20% of the workforce that work already now on freelance basis. So they are working with different companies around the globe, are collecting their wages in stablecoin. Because it's faster, it's cheaper, it's easy to exchange this in the local market. So yes, it is a big use case.
Exactly, and this is one of the reasons why we are in the region, and we are obviously improving awareness about the use of stable coins like USDC, because we see the importance of this role. You mentioned Lebanon, 100%, hyperinflation, devaluation of currency, obviously macroeconomic challenges, geopolitical challenges as well linked to all of this. And this is where we see the role of USCC coming in and improving. For example, I mentioned Turkey earlier. We have partners of ours that are already paying or offering their employees the option to convert their payment into a USDC. So for us, this is a very encouraging sign, and we see this only sort of growing in the coming years.
So Miriam, somehow this, what I'm going to say now, it's not yet announced, but somehow we're going to witness shortly some CBDC announcement in UAE. So some pilot projects are going to be announced actually. So the question is how the relation between the CBDC as a country-backed stablecoin and stablecoin in general like USDC. How do you see? Do you complement each other, or do you think it is gonna be kind of people? If I ask me, people would prefer stablecoin instead of going to CBDC. But how do you feel about that?
First of all, I think it's important to differentiate between the two. They're similar, but not the same. So CBDCs are digital currencies that are issued by central banks. So that automatically
centralized organization.
Absolutely. So that automatically dictates, the governance, the way they are used, when they are used, how they are used. So the way we see we see CBDCs versus regulated stablecoins, they are complementary, like you said. The CBDCs are more likely to sort of, in my view, in the future, we're likely to see the CBDCs really facilitating and improving payments for banks, for example, and cross-border for governments, whereas stablecoins and regulated payment stablecoins specifically can complement that role by playing a more important role throughout the economy, right? And this is where regulation comes in, becomes very important. Once we have full clarity on regulation around the stablecoins, I see a future where we are likely to see stablecoins being used throughout the economy, whereas CBDCs are complementing that for other purposes.
So stablecoin like USDC have the potential to influence traditional finance landscape globally. Can you discuss how Circle envision the integration of USDC with the traditional financial system in the big picture?
Yeah, I think Circle. So integrating USDC
so,
within the.
I'm putting this question. again, not yet maybe announced, but a lot of banks now, of commercial banks, they are stepping into the space. I learned that one of the banks received already a custodian license for digital assets. So somehow those commercial banks are stepping into this space. Do we have to feel comfortable about them, or do we need like the mediation of someone like Circle? So this is important.
Well, I think the integration Circle Solutions and USDC within the traditional financial system is a very important step, towards really growing towards the next phase of growth for our industry. Circle, as a leader within the space, we work very, very closely with banks and financial institutions, like I mentioned, because they do enable sort of the use cases and the access to the broader economy. We believe that USDC's integration with the traditional financial system has the potential to bring significant benefits, right? Which include enhancing the efficiency and improving liquidity, for example, where you can actually have you can enable the seamless movement of funds between banks, between currencies as well, across the globe. You improve interoperability as well globally. So we do see the benefit, and I see a future where this will happen. There is a lot of work being done around this to make sure that we work very closely together. And yes, I think the banks will have a very important role, I think, in the region, specifically when it comes to integrating the digital asset sort of offerings as part of their platforms, which for us is an exciting development. And we look forward to obviously collaborating with these banks very closely as we grow our presence in the region here. Another integration that we have seen already, and Circle is already working with some strong or global players in the space, is the payment space. I'm not sure if you've seen the news last month around with Visa, who partnered with Solana and Circle to allow settlements using USDC. So for me, this is a very powerful example of how stablecoins can actually have a very meaningful role within the traditional financial space, but also empower these businesses that have traditional models to really onboard into the Web3 space and really transform their business models for the future.
Yeah, I agree with you, and we covered this news as well. So how do you forecast the regulatory environment in the region? So now we're ahead somehow with ADGM and VARA trying to catch up. Bahrain, somehow it's somehow midway to do something, to put something together properly, and things moving forward as well with Qatar, Saudi Arabia, yet not much information about it. But how do you envision this going from now, at least for the coming 2-3 years?
I think we're seeing increasing clarity around regulation in the region. I think a good example of this is the UAE. The UAE has been leading the way, not only in the region, but even globally, and has done a great job in positioning itself as a global digital asset and Web3 hub for the wider region. And I think this is a testament to the great work that the government has done and the very progressive views of regulators, whether that's Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, Dubai. I think this is a great development for not only for the UAE, but a good example as well of what we potentially can expect to see across the region. I am very positive, I think, about the future of this and the likelihood of us seeing a fully or what I would call a comprehensive framework across, I think, the region. it remains to see how each, obviously, business hub adopts these regulations. But overall, Circle as a player within the space, we very much welcome that. And we also look forward to seeing sort of stablecoin specific regulations coming out. And we continue to work very closely with different regulators and players in this space.
So you talked about education earlier, and I fully agree with you. What are the missing pieces from this puzzle, or the hurdle that we need to overcome as a crypto space to go for the full potential of this technology, this infrastructure?
There are a couple of elements I would like to highlight. Obviously, regulation is a key part of this. Without regulation, we're unlikely to see key stakeholders being onboarded into the space, including the banking system, as well as the large institutions that we need for this growth. The second part comes back to the latter, institutional adoption. I think, again, once regulation comes into play, this is automatically linked to likely to see more institutions coming into the sector. In fact, I think the recent data by Chain Analysis also shows that about 67% of the transactions this year were done. Yes, institutions. So that's a great example of the readiness of that segment to come in. I think these two elements starting with the regulation, I think will unlock sort of the potential, because it will open the space for all of the stakeholders within this ecosystem to come and work together more closely. The best thing I like is the word unlock coming from your mouth. So, Miriam, thank you for your time, and I enjoyed every moment of this conversation. Same here, Walid. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.